Marxist theory. We'll start by looking at Marx's sociological theory. Marx's theory operates under the idea of economic determinism, that our motivation as humans is economic, and that our economic status, or class, determines our values and political beliefs. Marx saw society's structure as consisting of two parts, the foundation and the superstructure. Looking at this more in depth, Marx saw social formation composed of two parts, the infrastructure, which is the material side, and the superstructure, the immaterial. The foundation is divided between two parts, the relations of production, those are the formal and informal associations within the economic sphere of production, such as social classes, which dominate the material processes of production, and secondly, the forces of production. The forces of production consist of the mode of production, which includes labor, land, and other forms of capital, and the organization of production, or how you work. This material side determines the immaterial side, which consists of the legal and political structures and the ideological. In Marxist historical theory, Karl Marx borrows from Hegel the application of dialectical change to historical progress. Hegel says that history progresses through successive changes, powered by conflict and tension, and marked by periods of stability. The Hegelian dialect looks like this. Each triangle represents one dialectical change, starting with the current system or thesis. Through conflict or struggle, the thesis is challenged by the antithesis. At the end of this conflict, the synthesis is created out of a melding of the positive elements, as defined by society, of the thesis and the antithesis. This synthesis becomes the new thesis, which moves on to be challenged by another antithesis, so on and so forth. Marx's dialectic materialism opposed Hegel's spiritually guided dialectic, and said that change was instead motivated by conflict between classes. Marx believed there were 5 historical stages humanity was to pass through, 4 of which have already been achieved, and a 5th and final stage that was, as Marx believed, to soon be entered. Each of these are marked with their own unique economic and political system. Marx saw the first stage of human development as primitive communism, an unorganized and unadvanced society. This society was challenged by the concepts of labor division, private property, and tribalism. This led to the creation of empires, which were dominated by a foundation of slaves. Barbarians challenged this, and a landed aristocracy was created which marked an era of feudalism. Trade made way for a new class called the bourgeoisie, who challenged the feudal system and created systems of democracy. Marx believed that the exploitation of the proletariat working class would serve as the antithesis, leading us into his idea of final communism, in which the means of production are owned and regulated by the socialist proletariat. To understand Marx's predicted antithesis created by the proletariat, we must look at Marx's economic theory. Marx's theory of work saw work as a form of self-creation. This self-creation was in essence as much a part of you as your arm or leg. Marx believed that this gratification is the intrinsic motivation for human work. In the capitalist system, Marx's theory of self-alienation applies. The 3-part form of capitalist exploitation, Marx argues, is essential to the existence of capitalism. This consists of the creation of unenjoyable and intolerable conditions to reduce cost and increase profit. Secondly, separation of the worker from the products of their work, in which the product is used against the worker and used for the benefit of the capitalist. Lastly, technology's separation of the worker's creativity and the creation of the worker as a tool in production. The labor theory of value is used to create a standard of intrinsic value for a product. This is a combination of the constant value, which is the sum value of the resources, machinery, and finances, and the variable value of labor. This theory says that since all other forms of value in a product are constant, the only thing that adds value is labor. That is to say that the only way total value can be changed is by changing the variable value, since the constant values stay unchanged. The theory of surplus value is the theory created by Marx that argues that capitalism creates wage slaves out of the proletariat. Since the capitalists own all the capital, that is the means of production, the proletariat are forced to sell their labor at wages decided by the capitalists. The capitalist model maintains that the capitalist is of no obligation to any level of wage. That is, the capitalist is able to set the value of labor at the lowest possible level so as to maximize profit for the capitalist, profit being the motivation of the capitalist production. Looking at this as a mathematical equation, we see that O minus I equals P. That is output, the market price for the product, minus the inputs of production, resources, machinery, finances, labor, equals the total profit. If the labor theory of value states that only the variable value, labor, can be changed, it is imperative to the capitalist to decrease the value of labor to the lowest possible point to maximize profit. The proletariat are then paid subsistence wages, enough money to ensure life, so that the worker can keep working, but has no other option than to stay working. Therefore, the capitalist economic model cannot exist without the exploitation of the proletariat class. In conclusion, Marx's theory leads to the Marxist political system. Marx says that a proletarian dictatorship is necessary with the goal to ensure that there is one proletariat class. The elimination of capitalism will create a harmonious system and a truly free society.